I caught my fiancé with his ex at the beach, so I brought her husband and introduced them. The phone slipped from my hands and crashed onto the bathroom tiles, but I couldn't move to pick it up. My legs felt like they'd turned to water. On the screen, still glowing up at me from the floor, were the words that just destroyed everything I thought I knew about my life. Tomorrow at sunset, Clearwater Beach. Just like old times, Elijah. Just you, me, and the waves. No one has to know. My fiancé. The man I was supposed to marry in exactly 2 months. The man who was right now in our living room watching a basketball game and laughing at something on TV like he didn't have a care in the world. He'd been planning secret beach meetings with his ex-girlfriend. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how I got here, sitting on my bathroom floor at 11 o'clock on a Thursday night, my whole world cracking apart like an egg. Before we go further, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I need to know I'm not alone in this. And if you've ever had your heart broken by someone you trusted completely, hit that subscribe button. You're going to want to see how this story ends. My name is Miriam Chen, and I'm 29 years old. I live in Tampa, Florida, where the sun shines almost every day and everyone pretends life is a vacation. I work as a wedding photographer, which is kind of funny now that I think about it. I spend my days capturing other people's happy endings while mine was falling apart without me even knowing it. I met Elijah Moss 3 years ago at a coffee shop in downtown Tampa. He was a real estate agent, one of those naturally charming people who could talk to anyone about anything. He had this smile that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. Dark hair, bright eyes, and a laugh that made everyone around him laugh too. When he asked for my number that day, I felt like the luckiest girl in Florida. Our relationship moved fast. Maybe too fast, but I didn't see it that way back then. 6 months in, we moved into an apartment together, a nice 2-bedroom place in Channelside with a view of the water. A year after that, he proposed on the same beach where he'd taken me on our first real date. He got down on one knee right at sunset, the sky all pink and orange behind him, and said, "Miriam, you make every day feel like a dream. Will you marry me?" I said yes before he even finished the question. For 2 years, we were happy. At least, I thought we were happy. We went to concerts together, tried new restaurants every weekend, took road trips to Miami and Orlando. His parents loved me. My parents loved him. Our friends called us relationship goals on social media. We were planning a wedding for August, just 2 months away. I had my dress picked out, the venue booked, the invitations already sent. 200 guests were expecting to watch us promise forever to each other. But about 4 months ago, something changed. Small things at first, things so tiny I told myself I was imagining them. Elijah started working late more often. He'd come home at 9 or 10 at night, claiming he had to show houses to clients who could only meet after their own work hours. He was always tired, always stressed. When I suggested we have a date night or go for a walk on the beach like we used to, he'd say he was too exhausted. He stopped kissing me goodbye in the mornings. He'd just wave from the door and say, "See you tonight, babe," without even looking at me. His phone became his best friend. He'd be scrolling through it during dinner, during movies, even during conversations. When I asked what was so interesting, he'd say, "Just work stuff or client emails," and put the phone face down on the table. But he never used to put his phone face down. That was new. Then there was the way he talked about the wedding. At first, he'd been so excited, giving opinions on everything from the color of the napkins to the song for our first dance. But lately, whenever I brought up wedding stuff, he'd get this look on his face. Not exactly annoyed, but distant. Like he was somewhere else in his head. "Do we really need a videographer?" he'd asked last week. "Seems like a waste of money." "Elijah, we talked about this," I'd said, trying to keep my voice light. "We want to remember this day forever." "We'll have photos," he'd replied, not looking up from his phone. That's enough. I'd let it go because I didn't want to fight. But it hurt. This was supposed to be our day, our celebration. Why didn't he seem to care anymore? My best friend Sarah noticed too. Last month, at my bachelorette party planning session at her house, she'd pulled me aside while the other girls were looking at decorations. "Is everything okay with you and Elijah?" she'd asked, her voice careful. "Of course," I'd said automatically. "Why?" "I don't know. He just seemed really distracted at dinner last week. Like he wasn't really there. He's stressed about work," I'd explained, using the same excuse I'd been using for weeks. "The real estate market is competitive right now." Sarah had given me this look, this sad, knowing look that I didn't understand then. "Okay, but if you ever need to talk, I'm here." I'd hugged her and changed the subject because I didn't want to think about what she might be implying. I didn't want to be one of those suspicious, paranoid girlfriends who sees problems where there aren't any. But deep down, somewhere I didn't want to look, I knew something was wrong. Thursday night started normal enough. Elijah came home around 7 with Chinese takeout, earlier than he'd been coming home lately. We ate on the couch while watching a cooking show, and he actually seemed relaxed. He told me about a house he'd sold that day, a big commission that would help with the wedding expenses. He even kissed my forehead when he got up to throw away the empty containers. "I'm going to take a shower," he said, stretching. "Long day." "Okay," I replied, settling deeper into the couch cushions. "I'll find something else for us to watch." He disappeared down the hallway, and I heard the bathroom door close, then the shower start running. I grabbed the remote and started flipping through channels, not really paying attention to what was on. That's when I noticed his phone on the coffee table. He'd left it there when he went to shower. Elijah never left his phone anywhere. He usually took it with him everywhere, even to the bathroom. I stared at it for a long minute. The rational part of my brain said, "Don't look. That's an invasion of privacy. You trust him." But there was this other voice, quieter but more insistent, that said, "Something's wrong. You know something's wrong. Look." I picked up the phone. My hands were shaking a little. The screen was locked, but I knew his passcode. We'd always known each other's passcodes. It was one of those relationship trust things we'd established early on. I typed in the numbers and the phone unlocked. His text messages were right there on the home screen. The most recent one was from a contact saved as Rachel. I didn't know any Rachel. The preview of the message read, "Can't wait for tomorrow. It's been too long since." I clicked on it before I could stop myself. The full conversation loaded, and my stomach dropped. Message after message, going back weeks. They weren't obviously romantic at first glance, but there was something about them that felt intimate. Personal. Wrong. "That client from last month reminded me of you. Same laugh. Remember when we got caught in that thunderstorm at the beach? I was thinking about that today. Some songs just make me think of us. Do you ever feel that way?" And Elijah's responses, my Elijah, were just as bad. All the time. Some things you don't forget. Best summer of my life, honestly. I wish things had been different. I scrolled up, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The messages went back months, to January. Right around the time Elijah had started acting different. They'd started casual, just a, "Hey, how have you been?" kind of thing. But they'd gotten progressively more personal, more frequent. And then I found it. The message from yesterday. "Tomorrow at sunset, Clearwater Beach. Just like old times, Elijah. Just you, me, and the waves. No one has to know." Elijah's response, sent this morning while I was editing photos at my home office. "I'll be there. Miriam has a client meeting in St. Pete tomorrow afternoon, so the timing is perfect." Perfect. He'd said perfect. I was supposed to meet with a potential client tomorrow at 3 o'clock in St. Petersburg, about 30 minutes away. The meeting would probably last an hour, maybe 2. Which meant Elijah knew exactly when I'd be gone and exactly how much time he'd have. My hands started shaking so badly that I almost dropped the phone. I heard the shower shut off down the hallway. Panic shot through me. I couldn't let him know I'd seen this. Not yet. I needed time to think, time to figure out what to do. I quickly closed the messages and put the phone back exactly where it had been on the coffee table. Then I grabbed my own phone and ran to the bathroom, the one in the hallway, not our main bedroom bathroom where Elijah was. I locked the door and sat on the closed toilet lid, trying to breathe normally. That's when I dropped my phone on the floor, and that's where my story really begins. I picked up my phone with shaking hands and read the messages again on my own screen. I'd taken screenshots before putting Elijah's phone back, some instinct telling me I'd need proof later. Every word felt like a knife. Just like old times. No one has to know. Perfect timing. Who was Rachel? Why was she texting my fiancé? And why was Elijah lying to me about where he'd be tomorrow? I opened Facebook on my phone, my fingers fumbling on the screen. I searched Rachel in Elijah's friends list. There were 3 Rachels. One was his cousin. One was an old lady from his church. And one was Rachel Winters. I clicked on Rachel Winters' profile, and my stomach twisted into a knot. She was beautiful. Long dark hair, perfect skin, the kind of smile that belonged in toothpaste commercials. Her profile picture showed her at a beach, the sunset behind her, looking like something out of a magazine. I scrolled through her public posts. Most of them were basic stuff, inspirational quotes, pictures of food, check-ins at fancy restaurants and gyms. But then I found an old photo from 6 years ago. A group photo from what looked like a college party. And there, right in the center with his arm around Rachel's waist, was Elijah. Younger, his hair a bit longer, but definitely him. The caption read, "Best night with the best people. Love you all." My blood ran cold. This was his ex-girlfriend. It had to be. Elijah had gone to the University of South Florida, graduated 6 years ago. He'd mentioned an ex from college once, early in our relationship, but he'd been so casual about it that I'd never thought to ask questions. Just some girl I dated for a few months, he'd said when I'd asked if he had any serious relationships before me. Nothing worth talking about. She wasn't the one. You are. I'd believed him. I'd been so flattered, so secure in his love for me, that I'd never thought to dig deeper. But clearly Rachel Winters had been more than nothing worth talking about. Clearly, she was something worth lying to your fiancé about. I kept scrolling through her profile, and then I saw something that made everything even worse. A photo from 2 months ago. Rachel in a white dress, standing next to a tall man in a nice suit. They were cutting a cake together, surrounded by people cheering. The caption read, "2 months married to my best friend. Here's to forever, Josiah. I love you more every day." Rachel Winters was married. She'd gotten married 2 months ago to someone named Josiah. And she was still texting my fiancé about secret beach meetings. A knock on the bathroom door made me jump so hard I nearly dropped my phone again. "Miriam? You okay in there?" Elijah's voice, concerned and gentle. The voice of a man who cared about me. Or at least, the voice of a man who was really good at pretending. "I'm fine," I called out, and I was shocked by how normal my voice sounded. "Just a little stomach thing. I'll be out in a minute." "Okay, take your time. Want me to make you some tea?" Tea. He wanted to make me tea. My lying, cheating fiancé wanted to make me tea while he planned his secret beach date with his married ex-girlfriend. "No thanks," I managed. "I'm okay." I heard his footsteps walk away from the door. I looked back at my phone, at Rachel's wedding photo with this Josiah guy who had no idea his new wife was planning to meet up with an ex-boyfriend. This man who looked so happy, so trusting, with his arm around the woman who was about to betray him. And that's when the idea hit me. An idea so crazy, so bold, that at first I thought I couldn't possibly do it. But the more I thought about it, the more sense it made. If Elijah and Rachel wanted to have their secret beach reunion, why should they get to do it in private? Why should Josiah and I sit at home like fools while our partners lied to our faces? I opened Facebook Messenger and found Josiah Winters' profile through Rachel's friends list. He had his messages open to everyone, probably not expecting a stranger to contact him about his wife's affair. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a long moment. Was I really going to do this? Was I really going to message a complete stranger and tell him his wife was cheating on him? Then I thought about Elijah kissing my forehead tonight, acting so loving, while he had messages from Rachel on his phone. I thought about him saying perfect timing, when planning to meet her while I was supposed to be at a client meeting. I thought about our wedding in 2 months, all those people expecting to watch us commit to forever, while he was already breaking those promises. I started typing. "Hi Josiah, you don't know me, but my name is Miriam Chen. I'm engaged to a man named Elijah Moss. I just found text messages on his phone between him and your wife, Rachel. They're planning to meet tomorrow at sunset at Clearwater Beach. I know this is shocking and hard to believe, but I have screenshots. I think we both deserve to know the truth about what our partners are doing behind our backs. If you want to see the messages I found, I can send them to you. I'm so sorry to have to tell you this." I read the message 3 times, my heart pounding. Then, before I could change my mind, I attached the screenshots of the messages between Elijah and Rachel and hit send. The message showed as delivered. Now all I could do was wait and see if Josiah would respond, or if he'd think I was some crazy person making things up. I waited in that bathroom for 5 more minutes, staring at my phone. No response from Josiah yet. Maybe he was asleep. Maybe he'd seen the message and thought it was spam. Maybe The 3 dots appeared. He was typing. My breath caught in my throat. The message came through. I knew something was wrong. She's been acting so strange lately. Always on her phone. Always saying she has to work late. Last week I tried to surprise her at her office, and she wasn't there. When I asked about it, she said she'd gone to a meeting that came up last minute. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to be wrong. "Are you sure about tomorrow? What time and where exactly?" My hands shook as I typed back. Tomorrow evening, Clearwater Beach at sunset. Probably around 7 or 8 p.m. based on when sunset is. The messages said at sunset, and just like old times. I'm sorry you're going through this too. His response came fast. I'll be there. If this is really happening, I need to see it with my own eyes. Thank you for telling me. I know this couldn't have been easy. I typed one more message. I'm going to be there too. Maybe we should meet first? Make a plan. Yes. Let's meet at the parking lot at 6:30. I drive a silver Honda Accord. I'll park near the entrance. Okay. I'll be there. I sat on the bathroom floor, clutching my phone to my chest. Tomorrow, everything was going to change. Tomorrow, Elijah and Rachel were going to get the surprise of their lives. But first, I had to make it through tonight. I had to go back out there and pretend everything was normal. I had to look Elijah in the eyes and not let him see that I knew. I stood up, looked at myself in the mirror. My face was pale, my eyes looked scared. I splashed cold water on my face, took a deep breath, and opened the bathroom door. Elijah was back on the couch, watching the basketball game. He looked up when I came in and smiled. Feeling better? Yeah, I lied, sitting down next to him. Not too close, not too far. Just normal. Much better. He reached over and squeezed my hand. Good. I worry about you. I looked at our hands together, his fingers intertwined with mine, and felt nothing but cold anger spreading through my chest. I worry about you too, I said, and it wasn't even a lie. Because tomorrow, at Clearwater Beach, with the sunset painting the sky, Elijah Moss was going to learn exactly what happens when you betray someone who loves you. And I couldn't wait to see his face when I walked up to him and Rachel with her husband right beside me. Friday morning came too fast and too slow at the same time. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those messages. Just like old times. No one has to know. I kept my back to Elijah all night, pretending to be asleep while my mind raced with plans and anger, and hurt so deep it felt like I was drowning. When the alarm went off at 7, Elijah stretched and yawned like he'd slept perfectly. Of course he did. Liars always sleep well, don't they? They don't have guilt keeping them awake. Morning, beautiful, he said, leaning over to kiss my cheek. I forced myself not to pull away. Morning, I mumbled, getting out of bed quickly. I need to get ready. That client meeting is at 3, remember? Oh, right, Elijah said, and I watched him carefully. Did his eyes light up a little? Was that relief on his face? In St. Pete, right? Yeah. I grabbed my clothes and headed for the bathroom. I'll probably be gone most of the afternoon. The client wants to go over all her wedding ideas, look at my portfolio, all that stuff. You know how it is. No problem, Elijah called after me. I've got some showings anyway. Might hit the gym after. Decompress from the week. The gym. That was a new lie. He'd said he was meeting Rachel at the beach, but he couldn't tell me that, so now it was the gym. I wondered how many other times the gym had really been Rachel. I took the longest shower of my life, letting the water run hot enough to turn my skin pink. I needed to wash away the feeling of sleeping next to someone who'd been lying to me for months. When I finally came out, Elijah was in the kitchen making coffee. Want some breakfast? He asked, so cheerful, so normal. No thanks. I'm too nervous about the meeting. At least that part was true. I was nervous, just not about any client meeting. The day dragged by like torture. I had to keep myself busy, so I wouldn't think too much, wouldn't talk myself out of what I was about to do. I edited some photos from a wedding I'd shot last weekend. I confirmed my meeting with the client, because I was actually going to that meeting. I needed my alibi to be real in case Elijah somehow checked. At noon, my phone buzzed. A message from Josiah. I can't stop thinking about this. Part of me hopes you're wrong, but I know you're not. Rachel came home late again last night. Said she was at the office. I checked her office location on Find My Friends. She was at a restaurant downtown. When I asked what she wanted for dinner, she said she'd already eaten at her desk. Another lie. My heart broke for him. I knew exactly how he felt. I'm so sorry, I typed back. We'll get through this. See you at 6:30. See you then. At 2:30, I got dressed for my client meeting. Nice jeans, a pretty blouse, professional but casual. I did my makeup carefully, not because I cared about the client, but because I wanted to look good when I confronted Elijah. I wanted him to see exactly what he was losing. You look great, Elijah said when I came out of the bedroom. He was wearing athletic shorts and a t-shirt. Beach clothes disguised as gym clothes. Thanks. I grabbed my purse and my camera bag. I should be back around 6, maybe 7 if the meeting runs long. Take your time. He kissed me, actually kissed me on the lips, and I had to force myself not to wipe my mouth. Good luck with the client. Yeah, I said, looking him right in the eyes. Good luck with your workout. Something flickered across his face. Guilt? Suspicion? But then he smiled. Thanks, babe. I walked out of our apartment and didn't look back. The client meeting was in St. Petersburg at a cute coffee shop near the waterfront. The bride-to-be, Jessica, was sweet and excited about her wedding. She showed me her Pinterest boards and her color schemes and talked about how much she loved her fiancé. We've been together for 5 years, she gushed. He's my best friend. I can't imagine my life without him. I smiled and nodded and took notes, but inside I was screaming. 5 years. Elijah and I had only been together for 3, and look how that turned out. Time didn't mean anything if the person was a liar. Are you okay? Jessica asked suddenly. You look a little pale. I'm fine, I said quickly. Just a long week. So tell me more about your ceremony ideas. We talked for 2 hours. By the time I left the coffee shop, it was 5:30. The sun was starting its slow descent toward the horizon. In an hour, it would be sunset. In an hour, Elijah would be at Clearwater Beach with Rachel. And I would be there too. My hands shook as I drove to Clearwater Beach. The traffic was heavy, everyone heading to the beach for Friday evening. Families with kids, couples holding hands, groups of friends laughing. All these normal people having normal days while my entire life was about to explode. I pulled into the parking lot at 6:20. My heart was hammering so hard I thought I might be sick. I sat in my car for a moment, gripping the steering wheel, trying to breathe. A silver Honda Accord pulled into the spot next to mine. Josiah. He got out of his car slowly, and I got out of mine. We stood there in the parking lot, 2 strangers brought together by betrayal, and just looked at each other. He was tall, maybe 6 feet, with kind eyes that looked so sad it hurt to see them. He was wearing jeans and a button-down shirt, dressed nice like he was going somewhere important. I guess in a way we were. Miriam, he asked. Josiah. We shook hands, which felt weirdly formal given the situation. His hand was warm and steady, even though I could see he was shaking a little too. I almost didn't come, he admitted. I kept thinking maybe there's an explanation. Maybe they really are just old friends catching up. Maybe I'm being crazy. You're not crazy, I said firmly. Trust your gut. I ignored mine for too long. He nodded. How do you want to do this? I'd been thinking about that all day. We wait until they're settled in, until they think they're safe. Then we walk up together. No yelling, no scene. Just calm. Let them see us, let them see each other get caught, and let that be enough. What if they try to lie? Say it's innocent. Then we have the messages. The proof. But honestly, I looked toward the beach, where I could already see people setting up blankets and umbrellas for the sunset. I don't think they'll be able to lie when they see us standing there together. Josiah checked his watch. 6:45. Should we go? Let's wait until 7. Give them time to get comfortable. We sat on a bench near the parking lot, not talking much. What was there to say? We were 2 people about to watch our relationships end in real time. At exactly 7 o'clock, we stood up. Ready? I asked. Josiah took a deep breath. No, but let's do it anyway. We walked onto the beach together, the sand still warm from the day's sun. The sky was turning pink and orange, that gorgeous Florida sunset that made everything look like a painting. The beach was crowded with people, but I spotted them immediately. They were sitting on a blue blanket near the water, about 50 yards from where we stood. Rachel in a white sundress that caught the breeze, her dark hair down around her shoulders. Elijah next to her in his gym clothes, sitting close, so close their shoulders were touching. They were laughing about something. Rachel threw her head back, her hand on Elijah's arm, and he was looking at her the way he used to look at me. Josiah made a sound next to me, something between a gasp and a groan. That's them, I said quietly, even though it wasn't a question. That's them, he confirmed, his voice hollow. We started walking toward them, slow and steady. My legs felt like they might give out, but I kept going. People were scattered all around, families building sandcastles, couples taking selfies, teenagers playing volleyball. No one noticed us. No one knew that in about 30 seconds, 2 relationships were about to die on this beach. 20 feet away. Elijah still hadn't seen us. He was too focused on Rachel. 15 feet. Rachel was pulling something out of her bag, a bottle of wine and 2 plastic cups. 10 feet. Elijah was opening the wine, pouring it, handing a cup to Rachel like they were starring in some romantic movie. 5 feet. Hi, honey, I said. Elijah's head snapped up so fast I heard his neck crack. The color drained from his face. The wine cup fell from his hand, spilling red into the sand. Miriam, he choked out. What are you? How did you? Hello, Rachel, Josiah said, his voice eerily calm. Rachel's eyes went wide. She looked at Josiah, then at me, then back at Elijah, and I watched her perfect face crumble in real time. Josiah, she whispered. This isn't what it looks like. Really? Josiah asked, and now there was steel in his voice. Because it looks like my wife of 2 months is having a romantic Sunset Beach date with her ex-boyfriend, while I'm supposedly at home thinking she's working late at the office. Elijah scrambled to his feet. Miriam, I can explain. We were just what? I cut him off. Just having a little reunion? Just catching up on old times? Just like your text messages said. His face went from white to red. You went through my phone. You left it on the coffee table. The messages were right there. And yes, I read them. Every single one. I looked at Rachel, who was still sitting on the blanket looking like she might throw up. Did you tell your husband you were meeting your ex-boyfriend today, Rachel? Or did you lie to him like Elijah lied to me? She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. No words came out. She told me she was working late, Josiah said, his voice breaking just a little. Emergency brief for a case. Had to stay at the office until at least 9. And he told me he was going to the gym, I added. Funny how those lies worked out perfectly, isn't it? Almost like you planned it that way. The sunset behind them was breathtaking, all gold and pink and purple. The waves crashed gently on the shore. Somewhere nearby, a child laughed. It was beautiful and terrible all at once. Elijah reached for me. Miriam, please. Let me explain. Nothing happened. We were just talking. I stepped back before he could touch me. Don't. Don't you dare touch me. And don't lie anymore. I'm so tired of the lies. And that's when Rachel started to cry. Rachel's tears weren't pretty crying like in the movies. Her mascara ran down her cheeks in black rivers, her face turned red and blotchy, and she made these horrible gasping sounds like she couldn't breathe. Part of me felt bad for her. A tiny part. The rest of me felt nothing but cold satisfaction. I'm sorry, she sobbed, looking up at Josiah. I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. But it did happen, Josiah said, and his voice was so quiet it was almost scary. How long, Rachel? How long have you been meeting him? She didn't answer, just cried harder. Answer me. Josiah's voice cracked, and I saw people on nearby blankets starting to look over at us. A mom grabbed her little girl's hand and moved them further down the beach. Since January, Elijah said suddenly. He was staring at the sand, his hands shaking. We ran into each other at a coffee shop in January. Just by accident. We started talking and what? I asked. My voice sounded strange to my own ears, too calm, too detached. Like I was watching this happen to someone else. You decided to start an affair. It wasn't an affair, Rachel said quickly, wiping at her face. We never slept together. We just talked. That's all. Oh, just talked, I said, and I could hear the anger creeping into my voice now. You just talked for 6 months behind our backs. You just lied to us every single time you met. You just planned secret beach dates and said, no one has to know. That kind of talking. Josiah pulled out his phone and started scrolling. March 15th. You said you had a deposition in Tampa and had to stay overnight. Was that a lie? Rachel's silence was answer enough. March 15th, I repeated, pulling out my own phone. I'd been documenting everything since last night. Elijah told me he had a work conference. Charged a hotel room downtown to our joint credit card. I looked at Elijah. Let me guess. You weren't at any conference. He wouldn't look at me. Just kept staring at that spilled wine seeping into the sand like blood. How many times? Josiah asked, his voice getting louder. How many times did you lie to me? How many nights did you kiss me goodbye and then go meet him? It wasn't like that, Rachel said, but her voice was weak. We were just friends. We have history. I just needed someone who understood me. I'm your husband, Josiah shouted, and now everyone was definitely looking. I'm supposed to be the one who understands you. We've been married for 2 months, Rachel. 2 months, and you're already cheating on me. I'm not cheating. We never even kissed. Elijah's head jerked up at that, and I saw something flash across his face. Guilt. Panic. Oh my God, I breathed. You did kiss. She's lying right now, isn't she? The look on Elijah's face told me everything. Rachel spun around to glare at him, her eyes wide with panic and anger. "Elijah, don't," she hissed. But it was too late. The truth was written all over both of their faces. "When?" Josiah demanded, stepping closer to Rachel. "When did you kiss him?" Rachel stood up from the blanket, wobbling a little in the sand. "Josiah, please. Can we go home and talk about this privately? We don't need to do this here with all these people watching." "Oh, now you care about people watching?" I said, and I laughed. Actually laughed. It came out harsh and bitter. You didn't care about that when you were planning this romantic beach date. You didn't care when you were texting him saying, "just like old times." But now that you're caught, now you want privacy. A teenage boy nearby had his phone out, filming us. Great. We were probably going to end up on TikTok. But I didn't care anymore. "April," Elijah said quietly. "It was in April. Just once. It didn't mean anything." "Didn't mean anything?" I turned on him, and all that calm I'd been holding on to shattered. "You kissed another woman, your ex-girlfriend, while I was at home planning our wedding, and it didn't mean anything?" "Miriam," I was confused. I thought I was over her, but seeing her again, all these old feelings came back in. "Stop." I held up my hand. "Just stop talking. Every word that comes out of your mouth is making this worse." Josiah was staring at Rachel like he'd never seen her before. "You kissed him. You've been meeting him for months. Lying to me for months. What else did you do?" "Nothing. I swear, Josiah, we just talked and that one kiss in April. That's all. I love you. You have to believe me." "I don't have to believe anything you say ever again," Josiah said, and his voice broke. Actually broke. "I gave up everything for you. I moved away from my family. I turned down my dream job in Seattle because you said your career in Miami was too important. I defended you to everyone who said you were cold and selfish. And this whole time, you were sneaking around with him." Rachel reached for him, but he stepped back. "Don't touch me. We need to go," Elijah said suddenly, looking at Rachel. "We should leave. Let them cool down." "Oh no," I said. "You're not leaving together. That's not happening." "Miriam's right," Josiah agreed. "You two don't get to ride off into the sunset after this. Rachel, you're coming home with me right now. We need to talk. And you," I pointed at Elijah, "can go wherever you want, because you're not coming back to our apartment tonight." "What?" "Miriam, that's my home too." "Is it? Because you haven't been acting like it's your home. You've been acting like you're still in college, playing around with your ex-girlfriend." An older couple walked past us, and the woman whispered loudly to her husband. "Young people these days have no shame, fighting on the beach like this." I almost laughed again. Shame. She thought we should be ashamed of confronting cheaters. "I'm not leaving my own apartment," Elijah said, and now there was anger in his voice. "You can't just kick me out. The lease is in my name," I shot back. "Only my name. You're not on it. So yes, actually I can." His face went pale again. "You're being crazy. Overreacting to something that's not even a big deal." "Not a big deal?" My voice rose, and I didn't care who heard anymore. "You've been lying to me for 6 months. Meeting your ex-girlfriend behind my back. Planning secret dates. And you kissed her. We're supposed to get married in 2 months, Elijah. 2 months. And you're telling me this isn't a big deal." "People make mistakes," he said desperately. "I made a mistake. But we can work through this. We can go to counseling. We can." "No," I said simply. "We can't. We're done. The wedding is canceled. The relationship is over. You made your choice when you texted her back in January. When you kissed her in April. When you looked me in the eye this morning and lied about going to the gym." Rachel was crying again, clinging to Josiah's arm, even though he was trying to pull away. "Please, Josiah. Please don't leave me. I made a mistake. I'm so sorry. It won't happen again." "You're right," Josiah said coldly. "It won't happen again. Because we're done too." "No, you can't mean that. We just got married. And you just destroyed that marriage." He finally pulled his arm free from her grip. "I want a divorce. I'll file the papers on Monday. You can't divorce me over this. It was just talking. Just one kiss. I can and I will. And Rachel?" He leaned closer to her, his voice dropping low. "That house you love so much, the one you've been decorating and showing off on Instagram? It's in my name. My money from my grandmother paid for it. You're going to need to find somewhere else to live." Rachel's face went white. "You wouldn't. Watch me." Elijah grabbed Rachel's arm. "Come on. Let's go. We don't have to listen to this. But Josiah stepped between them, pulling Rachel back toward him. "She's my wife. She's coming with me." "Let go of her," Elijah said, and suddenly the two men were chest to chest, tension crackling between them. "You don't get to touch my wife anymore," Josiah growled. "Maybe you should have treated her better, and she wouldn't have come looking for me." And that's when Josiah punched him. It happened so fast I barely saw it. 1 second they were facing each other. The next second Elijah was on the ground in the sand, blood pouring from his nose, and Josiah was shaking out his hand with this shocked look on his face like he couldn't believe what he'd just done. Rachel screamed. The people around us gasped. The teenager with the phone got it all on video. And me? I just stood there, watching the man I'd planned to marry bleeding into the sand at sunset, and felt absolutely nothing at all. Elijah scrambled backward in the sand, holding his nose as blood dripped through his fingers. "You broke my nose. You psycho, you broke my nose." "Good," Josiah said, still shaking out his hand. "That's for every lie my wife told because of you." 2 security guards were running toward us now, walkie-talkies crackling. The teenage boy with the phone was still filming, and I could see at least 5 other people had their phones out too. This was definitely going viral. "Everyone calm down," one of the guards shouted. He was older, maybe 50, with a sunburned face and tired eyes. "What's going on here?" "He assaulted me," Elijah said, pointing at Josiah with his free hand. "I want to press charges. He was sleeping with my wife," Josiah shouted back. The security guard looked between all of us, then sighed like he dealt with this kind of drama every single day. "Okay, everyone needs to leave the beach. Now, before I call the actual police." "Fine by me," I said. I grabbed my purse and looked at Elijah one last time. He was still on the ground, blood all over his shirt, sand in his hair. He looked pathetic. "Small. Don't come back to the apartment tonight. Or ever. I'll pack your stuff and leave it with the building manager." "Miriam, wait." But I was already walking away. Josiah fell into step beside me, Rachel trailing behind us crying and begging him to stop, to talk to her, to please just listen. "Josiah, please," she called out. "I love you. It was a mistake." He didn't even turn around. We walked all the way back to the parking lot in silence, Rachel's cries fading behind us. When we reached our cars, Josiah finally stopped and leaned against his Honda, breathing hard. "I've never hit anyone in my life," he said, staring at his reddened knuckles. "I can't believe I just did that." "He deserved it," I said flatly. "Yeah." He looked up at me, and there were tears in his eyes. "I really thought she loved me. We've only been married 2 months. 2 months, and she was already cheating. They didn't deserve us," I said, and I meant it. Neither of them. Rachel finally caught up to us, out of breath and still crying. "Josiah, please. Can we just go home and talk about this? I'll explain everything. I'll make it right." "There's nothing to explain," Josiah said without looking at her. "You lied. You cheated. You destroyed our marriage. That's all I need to know. But I love you. If you loved me, you wouldn't have spent 6 months texting your ex-boyfriend. If you loved me, you wouldn't have kissed him. If you loved me, you wouldn't have planned secret beach dates behind my back." He finally looked at her, and his face was hard. "You don't love me, Rachel. You love the life I gave you. The house, the money, the stability. But you don't love me." "That's not true." She reached for him again, but he moved away. "Go to your parents' house tonight." I meant what I said. "I'm filing for divorce on Monday." "You can't do this." "I already did." He got in his car, started the engine, and drove away without another word. Rachel stood there in the parking lot, mascara streaked down her face, her white sundress dirty with sand, watching her husband leave. Then she turned to me, and there was anger in her eyes now. "This is your fault," she hissed. "If you hadn't stuck your nose in our business, none of this would have happened." I stared at her. "My fault. You were meeting my fiancé behind my back for 6 months, and it's my fault. We weren't hurting anyone. We were just talking, reconnecting. You had to go and ruin everything by being paranoid and jealous." Something inside me snapped. All the hurt, all the betrayal, all the nights I'd lain awake wondering what was wrong with me, why Elijah seemed so distant, why I wasn't enough for him anymore. It all came rushing up. "You know what, Rachel?" I said, stepping closer to her. "I actually feel sorry for you. Because you had a husband who loved you, who gave up his dreams for you, who trusted you completely. And you threw it all away for what? Some fantasy version of your college boyfriend? Some idea of who Elijah used to be before you knew who he really is. You don't know anything about us," she said, but her voice was shaking. I know that Elijah lies. I know that he's selfish. I know that he only cares about himself and what feels good in the moment. And I know that in a few months, when the excitement of sneaking around is gone, you're going to see the real him. The one who forgets to call when he says he will. The one who stops trying once he's comfortable. The one who'll probably do to you exactly what he did to me. She opened her mouth to argue, but nothing came out. You didn't win anything, I continued. You just lost everything for a man who isn't worth it. And honestly, you deserve each other. I got in my car and drove away, leaving her standing alone in that parking lot. The drive home was a blur. I don't remember most of it. I just remember gripping the steering wheel so hard my hands hurt, and the way the streetlights looked through tears I didn't realize I was crying. When I got back to the apartment, everything looked exactly the same. Elijah's shoes by the door. His jacket on the back of the couch. The coffee mug he'd used that morning still in the sink. But it all felt different now. Foreign. Like I was looking at someone else's life. I walked through each room, picking up his things and throwing them into trash bags. His clothes, his books, his stupid collection of baseball caps he never wore. All of it. Every single thing that reminded me of him. By midnight, I had 7 bags packed and lined up by the door. My phone had been buzzing all evening. Messages from Sarah, from my mom who'd seen my Facebook post about the wedding being canceled, from friends asking if I was okay. I ignored all of them. I wasn't ready to talk about it yet. Wasn't ready to say the words out loud. But there was one message I did read. From Josiah. Thank you for today. For telling me the truth. For being brave enough to confront them with me. I know this sounds crazy, but I'm glad I wasn't alone in this. I hope you're doing okay. I typed back, thank you too. I'm not okay yet, but I will be. We both will be. Yeah, we will. I sat on my couch, in the apartment that was finally just mine, and let myself cry. Really cry. For the relationship I'd lost, for the future I'd planned, for the man I'd loved who never really existed. I cried until I couldn't cry anymore, until my eyes were swollen and my throat hurt. And then, when the tears finally stopped, I felt something else. Something lighter. Like a weight I'd been carrying for months without realizing it was finally gone. I pulled out my laptop and opened a new document. Started typing. To everyone who sent gifts for the wedding. Thank you so much for your generosity and support. Unfortunately, the wedding has been canceled due to Elijah's infidelity. I'll be returning all gifts over the next few weeks. I appreciate your understanding during this difficult time. Then I opened my vendor list. The venue, the caterer, the DJ, the florist. Started making calls, sending emails, canceling everything. Each cancellation felt like cutting a thread that had been tying me to a future that was never going to happen. It was 3 a.m. by the time I finished. I was exhausted, emotionally drained, but also somehow energized. I opened Facebook one more time and posted. Some of you have been asking what happened. Here's the truth. I found out my fiancé had been lying to me for 6 months, meeting his ex-girlfriend behind my back. Today I confronted them at the beach where they'd planned a secret date. Her husband was with me. The wedding is canceled. I'm heartbroken but also relieved. I deserve someone who chooses me every single day, not someone who lies to my face while texting another woman. Thank you to everyone who's reached out. I'm going to be okay. I hit post and closed my laptop. My phone buzzed immediately. Sarah, I'm coming over. Don't try to stop me. She showed up 20 minutes later with ice cream, wine, and her overnight bag. We sat on my couch, eating ice cream straight from the container, and I told her everything. Every detail. Every lie. Every moment on that beach. You're a warrior, Sarah said when I finished. Seriously. Most people would have just cried and confronted him privately. But you? You brought receipts and her husband. That's iconic. I laughed through tears. I just wanted the truth to come out. I was so tired of being lied to. Well, the truth is definitely out now. You're all over TikTok, by the way. That kid's video has like 2 million views. Everyone's calling you a hero. Great, I groaned. I'm viral for my relationship falling apart. No, you're viral for standing up for yourself. There's a difference. Over the next few weeks, life slowly started to feel normal again. I threw myself into work, taking on extra photography sessions to keep busy. The apartment felt bigger without Elijah's stuff everywhere. Emptier, but also cleaner. Like I could finally breathe. Josiah and I kept in touch. We'd text occasionally, checking in on each other. He filed for divorce like he'd promised. Rachel tried to fight it, but the prenup held up. She moved back in with her parents in Miami, and according to Josiah's lawyer, she was telling everyone that he'd overreacted, that nothing had really happened with Elijah. Elijah tried to contact me a few times. Long texts apologizing, asking for another chance, saying he'd made a terrible mistake. I blocked his number after the 5th message. I didn't need his apologies. They didn't change anything. 3 months after that day on the beach, I ran into Josiah at a coffee shop in Tampa. He looked different. Lighter somehow. Happier. Miriam. He smiled when he saw me. How are you? I'm good, I said, and realized I meant it. Really good, actually. How about you? The divorce was finalized last week. He held up his left hand, showing his bare ring finger. I'm officially single again. Congratulations, I said, and I meant that too. Can I buy you a coffee? We should catch up properly. We sat in that coffee shop for 2 hours, talking about everything and nothing. About healing, about moving forward, about learning to trust again. He told me Rachel had moved to Atlanta, that she'd taken a job at a firm there. Probably running away from the gossip in Miami. And Elijah? I'd heard through mutual friends that he'd tried to get back together with Rachel after I ended things, but she'd rejected him. Apparently, once the thrill of sneaking around was gone, she realized he wasn't what she wanted after all. Last I heard, he was dating someone new already, some girl he'd met at a bar. Do you ever regret it? Josiah asked. Confronting them like that? Going through with everything? I thought about it for a long moment. No, not for a second. I regret not trusting my gut sooner. I regret making excuses for him when I knew something was wrong. But confronting them? Ending it? That's the best decision I ever made. Same, he agreed. I just wish I'd figured it out on my own instead of needing you to show me. We helped each other, I said. That's what matters. He smiled. You know what's funny? That day on the beach was the worst day of my life. But it was also the day I got my life back. Same, I echoed. 6 months after that, Josiah and I were dating. Not because we bonded over betrayal, but because somewhere between coffee shop meetings and long phone calls, we realized we actually liked each other. Really liked each other. He made me laugh. He showed up when he said he would. He never made me question where he was or who he was with. Is this weird? I asked him one night as we walked along the beach, a different beach, not Clearwater. That we got together because of what they did. Maybe, he admitted. But I don't care. The best things sometimes come from the worst situations. A year after catching Elijah and Rachel at the beach, Josiah and I went back to Clearwater. Same spot, but everything was different. We set up a blanket, watched the sunset, and took a picture. I posted it on Instagram with the caption. A year ago, this beach was where my old life ended. Today, it's where my new life feels complete. Sometimes the worst betrayal leads you exactly where you're supposed to be. Grateful for second chances and honest love. The comments flooded in. Friends celebrating with us. Strangers who'd seen that viral video saying they were happy I'd found happiness. And surprisingly, one comment from a number I didn't recognize. I'm glad you're happy. You deserved better than me. I showed Josiah. He read it and shrugged. You want to respond? No, I said, deleting the comment. I don't need closure from him. I already have everything I need. And I meant it. Because sitting there on that beach with Josiah, watching the same sunset that had witnessed my heartbreak a year ago, I realized something important. Elijah hadn't broken me. He'd freed me. Freed me to find someone who would never make me question my worth. Someone who chose me clearly, honestly, completely. The waves crashed on the shore. The sun painted the sky in shades of pink and gold. And for the first time in longer than I could remember, I felt completely, perfectly at peace. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is actually the best thing that could have happened. You just can't see it until you're on the other side. I kissed Josiah as the sun disappeared below the horizon, and I knew with absolute certainty that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. The end. Thank you so much for watching my story. If it touched your heart, made you think, or gave you hope that better things are coming after heartbreak, please subscribe to this channel to support our growth. Your support means everything, and there are so many more stories to share. Hit that subscribe button, leave a comment about your own experiences, and remember that you deserve someone who chooses you every single day. Stay strong, stay true to yourself, and never settle for less than honest love.